Have you ever wondered what existed before Adam? The Bible famously starts with "in the beginning," but what if that beginning isn't the absolute start of everything? What if there's an ancient truth, hidden in plain sight within the biblical text, that tells a story of a world before our own? This isn't about challenging faith, but about deepening our understanding of the incredible scope and mystery of these ancient scriptures. Let's embark on a journey together, peeling back the layers of familiar verses to uncover a story that's been debated by theologians and scholars for centuries. Prepare to have your perspective shifted. Let's start with Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. We all know this. But the very next verse is where things get fascinating. Genesis 1:2 says, "And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep." The original Hebrew words for without form and void are to Washington Poe. This phrase doesn't just mean empty. It implies a state of chaos, a ruin, a desolation. This has led many to propose what's known as the gap theory. The idea is that there's a massive, undefined gap of time, maybe millions or even billions of years between verse 1 and verse 2. Verse 1 describes an original, perfect creation. Then, something catastrophic happened, plunging that world into the Washington Poe, the chaotic ruin described in verse 2. What we read from Genesis 1-3 onwards isn't the original creation, but a recreation or a restoration of a planet that had been judged and destroyed. So, if there was a world before Adam's, who or what lived in it? This is where we turn to passages that talk about a powerful celestial being. In Isaiah chapter 14, the prophet speaks of the king of Babylon, but the language used seems to transcend a mere human king. It says, "How you are fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning, how you are cut down to the ground, you who weaken the nations." It describes this being wanting to ascend into heaven, to exalt his throne above the stars of God, to be like the Most High. This sounds like an act of rebellion, a cosmic coup. Ezekiel 28 uses similar, elevated language to describe the king of Tyre. It speaks of a being who was in Eden, the garden of God, adorned with every precious stone. It calls him the anointed cherub who covers, perfect in his ways from the day he was created, until iniquity was found in him. His heart was lifted up because of his beauty, and he corrupted his wisdom for the sake of his splendor. Could these passages be describing the original ruler of that pre-Adamic world? According to the gap theory, Lucifer was placed in charge of this pristine, original earth. He was a magnificent, wise, and beautiful angelic being, but pride entered his heart. He wasn't content with his position, he wanted to be God. This rebellion led to a celestial war and a devastating judgment from God that destroyed that first world, casting it into the darkness and watery chaos of Genesis 1-2. Lucifer, now fallen and known as Satan, became the prince of darkness. His beautiful kingdom turned to ruin. This interpretation provides a powerful context for the presence of a tempter in the Garden of Eden later on. Satan wasn't just a random talking snake. He was the deposed king of the planet, full of bitterness, trying to corrupt God's new creation, humanity, and drag them down with him. This idea of a pre-Adamic world also helps explain a few other biblical puzzles. For instance, where did all the fossils of dinosaurs and other prehistoric creatures come from? According to this view, they are remnants of that first age, the world that Lucifer ruled over, which was destroyed long before Adam was formed from the dust. It neatly separates the geologic ages from the 6 days of the Genesis recreation. It also offers an explanation for the origin of demons. They aren't just fallen angels who rebelled with Satan. They could be the disembodied spirits of the inhabitants of that pre-Adamic world, now forever bound to the ruined earth, seeking to possess physical bodies. This is speculative, of course, but it connects many disparate dots within the biblical narrative. Think about the story of Cain after he murders Abel. In Genesis 4, Cain is exiled and cries out, "Whoever finds me will kill me." Who is he afraid of? If only Adam, Eve, and Cain were on earth, who are these other people? The Bible then says Cain went to the land of Nod and built a city. How do you build a city by yourself? And who was his wife? While traditional interpretations suggest these were other children of Adam and Eve not mentioned by name, the pre-Adamic theory offers another possibility, that there were other beings or remnants from a previous age still populating the earth. Now, it's crucial to state that this is a theory, an interpretation. It's not a core doctrine of the Christian faith. The mainstream view is that Genesis 1 describes a single, seamless creation event over 6 literal or figurative days. There is no gap. The two Washington Bow simply describes the raw, unformed materials God was about to shape. Proponents of the seamless creation view argue that the passages in Isaiah and Ezekiel are purely symbolic, using the myth of a fallen celestial being as a poetic metaphor to condemn the pride of earthly kings, the kings of Babylon and Tyre. They point to Romans 5:12, which says, "Sin entered the world through one man, and death through sin," suggesting that death itself did not exist before Adam's transgression. If there was a pre-Adamic world with animals and other beings, they would have had to live and die, which seems to contradict this verse. However, gap theorists counter that this verse specifically refers to human death and sin as entry into the human world, not the entire history of the planet. The death that existed in the pre-Adamic animal kingdom was just part of the natural cycle, not a result of sin. So, we have two compelling ways to look at the beginning. One is a straightforward, seamless creation where everything we know began with Genesis 1:1. The other is a dramatic story of a lost world, a celestial rebellion, and a divine restoration, a story hidden between the first two verses of the Bible. The gap theory isn't a modern invention. It was discussed by early theologians like Origen in the 3rd century and was popularized in the 19th century by scholars trying to harmonize the biblical account with the growing geological evidence for an ancient Earth. It paints a picture of a cosmic conflict that predates humanity, giving a profound backstory to the spiritual battle we see playing out through the rest of the Bible. It frames the story of Adam and Eve not as the absolute beginning, but as God's beautiful, hopeful plan B after the rebellion and ruin of his first creation. Whether you believe in a gap or not, exploring this theory opens up the Bible in a new and exciting way. It encourages us to read closely, to ask questions, and to appreciate the sheer depth and complexity of the text. It reminds us that there may be layers of meaning we have yet to uncover. The story of what existed before Adam forces us to confront the vastness of time and the epic scale of God's plan. It's a narrative of creation, fall, and recreation that echoes throughout the entire Bible, culminating in the promise of a new heaven and a new earth. It is a testament to a God who doesn't abandon his creation when it falls into ruin, but who lovingly restores it and makes all things new. What do you think? Does the idea of a pre-Adamic world resonate with you, or do you see Genesis as a single, unbroken account? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. It is a fascinating topic that shows just how much mystery is waiting to be explored in these ancient texts. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world before Adam. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss our next exploration. See you next time.